What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to OleSchool Gamers. Today we're going to show you how to get the Commodore 64 light gun games working for your Sinden Lightguns. Yes, that's right, Commodore 64. Not Nintendo 64, Commodore 64. And yes, it had some light gun games. So thanks for the Pi team for getting this figured out. Let's dive in. I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's go. Alright, first thing I'm going to go ahead and boot up my Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to start up the RetroPie setup script, which is under RetroPie. And once this menu loads up, we're going to go down into Manage Packages and Optional Packages. Then we're going to scroll all the way down until we get to the Lib Retro Cores, and you're going to select LR Vice. After you select it, go ahead and do an install from source. It will take a little bit longer, but you will get the latest and greatest. Now, depending on the speed of your Pi and your Ethernet connection, this may take a while. For me, it took about 15 minutes. So we'll come back when this is all done. Now that it's finished, we're going to go back, not once, but twice, 3 times, and once you find this screen here, scroll down to Perform Reboot and say yes. Alright, as first step, let it reboot. Let's get Commodore 64 working with your Sinden Lightguns. Alright, the next thing that we want to do is we want to get the BIOS and the ROMs uploaded to your Pi. Go ahead and open up WinSCP or FileZilla or whatever tool you prefer. I like WinSCP, so that's what I'm going to use. What we're going to do is navigate to the Home, Pi, RetroPie, BIOS folder. And what you want to do in there is create a Vice folder and make sure that all of your BIOS files required for the C64 are in that folder. So go ahead and drag those over, and that's it. For the ROMs, they need to go under Home, Pi, RetroPie, ROMs, C64. Alright, we're going to go ahead and reboot our Raspberry Pi, and once it comes up, we need to configure the Commodore 64 to be used with a light gun. I definitely recommend having a keyboard plugged in for this, but you can use your gun, it's just a little bit harder. So go ahead and launch a game, doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and choose Cosmic Storm because it's a fun game. Alright, go ahead and hit Select and X on your hotkey so we can bring up the menu. And once we're in the Retroarch menu, go down to the quick menu and select Options. Now, this actually might be under Input. It depends on what version of Retroarch you're running. So you just have to look for them. But first thing is first, we are going to go down, all the way down, and we're going to select the RetroPad joystick port. Make sure this is set to 2. The next thing that we want to do is set the RetroPad joystick onto Light Gun Magnum Light Phaser. Now that's going to work for most of your Commodore 64 games, but there are a few games that require the stack rifle, and we'll go over those in just a second. But for now, leave this as Magnum Light Phaser. These next settings are not required, but I did them because I wanted to max out the potential of the Commodore 64. Once it's all done, you can create a game options file to save this for this particular ROM. As you can see, I completely forgot to set the border, so I'm going to have to go back in. So we're going to go down into the quick menu, select on-screen overlay, and select overlay preset, and we're going to select whichever border works for you. I select the border white medium. Once that's selected, we're going to change the opacity to 1. Then we're going to go down to overrides and save core overrides so that the rest of these ROMs can have the same border. The virtual keyboard can be accessed in 2 ways. You can use the select key on the keyboard or the front right button on your Sinden Lightgun. I'd highly recommend reading up on all the different things that the keyboard can do for you. The virtual keyboard has a lot of functionality. For example, the S/L key or shift lock key will allow you to toggle the function keys so that you can see the odds or the evens. and the red circle on the bottom left, this one allows you to do a clean boot. All you gotta do is hold it down and it will count down for about 10 seconds. This is handy when you want to boot without using the save states. When calibrating your games, just know that there's a lot of games that don't calibrate exact to the cursor, so I would recommend turning the cursor off. When I use games that use the stack rifle, however, such as Cosmic Commando, the calibration was actually really good. So it just depends from game to game if you want to keep the cursor or not. So if you do want to take off the cursor, all you got to do, go back into your Retroarch menu, go down to the options under quick menu, and you'll scroll down and you'll see something that says show video options. Once you select that on, you can refresh by going out of Retroarch and back in. And once you come back in, you'll be able to see another option called OSD Light Gun Pen Gun Pointer Color. Select that to off, and now the cursor will be gone. Alright, so we're ready to play. Let's load up Cosmic Storm, and we're going to get a few questions here. Go ahead and answer those however you prefer. And once it loads up, we're going to be able to play without a cursor. Now we're going to try another game called Cosmic Commando. This one actually worked pretty good, but you do have to change it to the stack rifle. And when you change the inputs, I highly recommend go ahead and creating an opt file for that ROM so that you don't have to keep doing it over and over. What you got to do is go into your Retroarch with your select and X key, and once you're in there, you'll go down into the quick menu, scroll down until you get to options. Go all the way down, and when you see joystick port type, cycle over until you see a stack light rifle. And that's it, guys. We got the Commodore 64 up and running. I really appreciate you guys joining me. Special shout out also to the contributors of the Pi team that are out there kicking butt behind the scenes and helping out the community to make it that much better. Always finding new games and better ways to make them perform and just making the overall experience that much better. Thanks a lot, guys. And until next time, laters.